Oh, here we go. All right. Maybe I'm not supposed to swear in it doesn't matter. It's a live stream. I don't fucking care. I just sent out a notification to my Discord of probably 700 people, and I linked just the Schedule 1 soundtrack instead of the actual live stream linked. I was trying to move it over to my to my browser over here, but I accidentally sent it to the whole Discord, and I almost posted on. The only reason I caught it is because I posted it on Instagram too, and then I was like, wait a second, that's not what I wanted. Hello everybody. I am going to talk a little bit about art stuff, and I'm also gonna draw a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna paint digitally. I don't know how the painting's gonna go. There's some stuff I want to test out. We'll get there. We will get there. And then yeah, there's some art history stuff I want to talk about too. Over here somewhere. Boom. Let me put this on a better monitor. So I put together some slides or whatever for you guys I want to talk about too, but we'll get there in a minute. First, I just want to, I think I'm going to sketch for a little bit here or there and talk to chat a little bit. All right, what's up, Doggo? Oh, let me, Doggo, do you want to get modded on this account, or do you have a different one? I can mod you. What's up, Bruno, Pistachio, Emily, Irv, Kay? Oh, no. It doesn't like it when I stream in 4K for some reason. Let me see what I can do here. YouTube yells at me, and then last time it crashed. Okay, screen's gonna go black for 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Don't change the channel. Hello. I should be back. Okay, there we go. Jake, did you cut your hair? Yeah, I cut my hair. People do that, all right? Things change. All right, yeah. I don't know why. Last time I streamed in 4K, it just crashed halfway through it. And YouTube always yells at me. Yeah, I'm edging you guys. All right, cool. Let's just. I'm gonna draw for a little bit here while we get warmed up, and then wrong type of drawing. Look at this artistic mess. Oh, by the way, I've been doing a lot of drawing. I drew this guy in the background after the one I was working on in the stream last week, and I just drew this cast too. I'm working on putting together a PDF ebook. That's gonna be free, and I took pictures of all the steps and stuff, so that's happening. Audio choppy? Your audio's choppy. Is it actually? Fine for me? All right, yeah, it's all on you. What else do I have? Yeah, and then I made a few other paintings too. First we have to go to here. Boom! Nubby fan art. I do want to work. I want to kind of bring this to a nice finish. Actually, I like this painting a lot. Because I made a 15. We have the 15-minute challenges. If you guys aren't in my Discord, there's a channel where every day, and they deserve a big shout out. They post a prompt, and you have 15 minutes to make whatever you want from the prompt, and it doesn't really have to stay that on topic. It doesn't matter. So I made a Nubby painting for one of my. People who don't know what Nubby, looking at this, is probably really funny. I made a Nubby painting for, the prompt was, I don't know, video game or something. Where is that? Let me just pull it up from the Discord. What was it? Oh, scene from a video game. That's what it was. So I made a Nubby painting, and then I was like, I want to make a actually good Nubby painting. So I scrapped that one, and then I started working on this one. This is just an hour, and I just did it with my mouse too. So I don't know. There's I think that there's some nice compositional things in here, right? There's this nice arcing motion that ties into the Nubby, and then here's obviously the center point. And I think this yellow here feeds back into the composition well. There's I think a little bit of awkwardness, what's going down on in this corner. I think it'd be improved. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it some more thought. So that's one painting I've been working on. And then here's what I wanted to do some test out. I also started a free run painting for the. I'm a big weeaboo now or something. I started watching free run, and I really struggled with this one a lot. I mean, I made like a shitty painting in one night with my mouse. Yeah, I made this on Rebel with my mouse, and it's really not a great painting because I'm really bad at doing semi-realism and stylized stuff. I'm actually trying to take this off the screen as soon as possible, but I can't find the layer. Here it is. So I workshopped and I repainted stuff like 5 times, and every time it just got shittier and weirder because I'm really not good at the semi-real stuff. So I did this one and this one. It's not it. But I reworked the sketch again, and then I put this layer of rendering on it last session, and I'm liking where that's going. So we're making good progress on the free room. It's the most digital painting I've done in like a year probably, to be honest. And then we got the monkey challenge going on in the Discord as well. I forgot to start the timer. Let me put the timer down. Yeah, we can start it here. Boom. And then we got the monkey painting. We got a monkey challenge going on in the Discord right now. That's ending today, and then starting tomorrow, we'll be doing a hand drawing challenge for the next 2 weeks. So, mod this one. Okay, cool. Let me give someone moderator. That's all you have to do. You just have to ask. Please don't ask. You're not him. Okay, cool. That's fine. Let me scan some chat messages here real quick. Yeah, you can use Heavy Paint directly in your browser. It's called Webby Paint, and it's just like, I don't know, it's free, and it's like most of Heavy Paint, and you can pay for it too. So honestly, it's really good. I made this painting with my mouse too, and I made the nubby painting with my mouse as well. And then this one I painted mostly with my mouse. Actually, I did this final rendering layer just with my mouse, but this was with the drawing tablet. I don't know. It doesn't really make much of a difference. Okay, so someone in my Discord was good at drawing, and they're good at painting really. And they showed me some interesting digital techniques, and I wanted to try some of that digital stuff. Because one thing I've said about digital art for a while now is like there's no sense in trying to make it look traditional really. Like I have Rebel and I like using Rebel, which by the way guys is a software that mimics traditional painting. It's fun to use, but I like digital's never gonna feel like traditional. So I think it's really best to try to use each medium for what they're good at, right? So it's like, you know, oil paint's great, but oil paint's probably not the best to do like a really detailed like drawing study in, right? Like probably, you know, graphite or charcoal is going to be better at that. And likewise with digital, it's just not the best for like doing like this wet medium based watercolor techniques or oil painting techniques. It's best at being digital. So that's the cool digital stuff. So I really wanted to try, I just want to learn some more stuff about digital. And there's someone in my Discord named Caterpillar. Shout out Caterpillar. And they don't have social media, so that's it. But they showed me some cool like techniques for selection and masking that I wanted to test right now. And then in 20 minutes we'll start talking about art history, and then after this we'll carry this through. Let's get a little warm up going here. Are you a Pokemon fan? I'm not, honestly really not. You're trying to learn digital master techniques or processes for digital art? I don't know. You know, I think like at the end of the day, I try to really avoid anything that's technique-y, and I have a whole presentation on that I'm gonna talk to you guys about soon. But like, I mean, you do need some techniques, right? And like, if you don't know anything about digital and you just try to do everything with like the hard round brush, sometimes you're putting like a barrier in front of yourself for no other reason than just to be like stubborn. Which paint tastes best? Yeah, someone said lead white. I would also throw maybe like mercury sulfide. What do you call that? Chinese vermilion, right? Okay. So if we use a soft brush here, this is my understanding, and I try to find some like general areas of like contrast or points of focus on the composition. Let me turn my opacity back up. I like to turn this flow thing down too, by the way, guys. Like if you turn it down, then it means your stroke doesn't start out 100% hard. It kind of like tapers in and then gets hard. So yeah, I like to put a little bit of flow in. So if you put in some like general points of contrast here, there's more information that is captured digitally than, you know, what you perceive because of the way the brushes work. So you can use the magic wand tool and then turn down the threshold. And then you can make really weird selections. And then the more you layer on top, you can make weirder selections. I already don't really know what I'm looking at. What if I use a 3? So if I turn up the threshold, it makes broader selections, right? So if I use like a 1 here, it makes tiny selections. So these like arcs, because this is a radial brush, right? So it just puts down, it puts down a blob, right? And then it spreads out in a gradient of softness from that blob. These arcs that the selection tool picks up are the rings of gradient that the computer is putting down on the brush, like slightly softer and softer and softer and softer. Took the people can't draw, they just jumped straight into painting. Went to my first portrait class and oof, yeah, I can't draw. I was a very happy beginner. Yeah, welcome in. Hell yeah. Okay, so let me just start like carving out weird shapes now. So one thing is I'm very uncomfortable with any approach that doesn't try to hit like an immediacy of like getting things right. Like I always try to get things as close as possible on the first try. And what I saw from this approach is that's not very helpful, or not like that's not the goal exactly. So this is strange to me, but we'll see. We'll see. And we're just gonna play around with some of these brushes. So on this side of the screen, we get these very like washy, wispy, yellowy, orange foliage. And then on this side of the screen, we have this very blue, cyan, quite saturated, maybe 6 out of 10 value. And what's the magic wand hotkey here? W. Oh, okay. Maybe I need like a bigger tolerance for this. This is so strange. And I have no idea what I'm doing, so this might just not, but I'm just trying to get some like interesting ideas down. Okay, let's use a texture brush here. Also, all of these brushes are brand new to me, and I could not tell you what any of them are. Alright, so we need like some green over here. Want something that's a little bit more unified. Yeah, something like that, like a pastel chalk. It's probably a little bit too dark and saturated, so let me pull some of this down. This comes into here. There's a little bit of green here. There's that yellow in here, and then there's that darkness. I'm normally used to laying in the shadows very hard at first. Okay, so now we can go back to some selections. How the fuck did she do this? I'll figure it out. We're trusting the process, and the process is not going to get there in 15 minutes. So you're gonna be on a cliffhanger too. I'm gonna edge you guys hard today. Are you edging or are you gooning? I'm edging, sir. Are you edging or are you gooning? I'm edging, sir. Can I have a shift and like, oh, select multiple areas. Hello, Kaxis. I'm good. The art drama is somewhat, it's involving myself, and it's also 200 years old. So it's the best type of drama, and we'll get there. It goes back to my ancestral vampire days. So we have like this like ring. Something I noticed too while just looking at this photo for a long time, and if you just, this is a crazy tip, you guys might not hear this anywhere else, but if you just look at stuff for a long time, you start to see things and that you wouldn't have noticed, that is. And something that's really interesting about this photo specifically is that like all of these areas of foliage, like all these little bits and pieces, they push back out and around. It's actually a really lovely photo. They push out back and around, and you can even see how this foliage looks like it's flopping backwards out of the frame. And you get this like nice cascading effect that tapers out to here. It's just like a wonderful photo. And there's just like this really nice sense of like sweeping motion that gets reinforced even too by these little strains of grass. And then likewise, like this also crusades, I don't think that's the right word, like crescendos out in the opposite direction. So you get like this, there's this really like interesting swirl that happens here that I would like to try and capture. And also like as you're swirling this way too, you're receding further into the distance. So how do you capture that in art? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But we'll try. We will try. And we'll just throw a bunch of brushes at it, and we will trust the process. I was surprised by the amount of like airbrushing early on. I think it's just to set up like the big value groups. It's also a lot of like lasso selection. And this is like this purple, but it's not exactly the purple. I've also never touched this menu. You can't see the drop-down box. I've never touched the layer mode menu in Photoshop, which is this box up here that like lets you select like multiply or layer or linear or like burns. Never have I ever touched that. So, oh shit, that's free run. I'm gonna play with some of those too. Please let me know. Let you know what? You haven't said anything else in chat. Oh, thanks, Grammy, for the nice words about the videos. Yeah, I'm really excited to start making videos again. I know I haven't made videos in a while, to be honest, but I also like, you know, it's a difficult position where I am, because if I just sat down and like made videos all day, which is what, you know, it's what YouTube would want, it's what I would want. I would, you know, my videos, they would get stale, I think, and they would become uninspired, and I think that they would really suffer. And let me grab the magic wand and deselect. Oh god. This? Yeah, deselect this. I think that they would slowly become worse. And there's like a certain level of like research and ideas I have to constantly bring in, and my videos are nothing but like, they're just like a display of like my growth and what I'm, you know, doing in life and thinking about. So I have to go through these periods where I'm doing all sorts of stuff that's not making videos, essentially. And I've been mining, I've been sowing seeds, I've been mining diamonds, I've been getting netherite for a couple months now, and I'm coming to an area here where I'm almost ready to start bringing these back, and I'm really excited to what's gonna come of that. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So we're getting close. There's just so much. And I got like a lot of like actually like good free resources for you guys too. Let's multiply, man. Holy shit, this multiplies hardcore. So, yeah, I don't know, I'm getting there. Someone's doubting me right now. Has this guy never watched a stream before? Well, this, I mean, if you haven't seen the Roblox streams, I think my chat is always constant doubters in the Roblox streams. But it's the believers who win at the end of the day. Just remember that. You can be a sore loser doubter or like a Giga Chad believer. You know, and it might take me 20 hours, but I get there. This stream probably won't be 20 hours though. That's receding into the distance. It's actually getting a little bit grayer. And is this plane back here lighter? It looks lighter. I mean, it's a very small increment. Probably just grayer, if anything. There's also a lot of cool tools in Photoshop that I just had no idea existed. Essentially, the whole point of, I mean, this is just like some, it's kind of like a layering technique in oil paint where you're just trying to like find some sort of texture that's, I guess, semi-relevant, and then from that you can pull something that is, if you pull some sort of actual something out of it, then that actually shows through in the end product. Jake, are you gay? If you are, hit me up. Fine shite. No. Sorry, buddy. Thank you for the fine shite, though. That feels really good. Appreciate that one. I don't know why that was the one block of messages. I'm gonna lose about half of my viewers from that one. Is it a cow? You should paint the Mona Lisa. You know, I have I have zero interest in the Mona Lisa as a painting. I go into you daily. I love you. Is that the same guy who asked me if I'm? It is. I made the mistake of scrolling up. I'm LWK putting you on. Hear me out, cake. I don't know what's going on in this chat. I have no control over my own chat. Let's go back to this. Let me get a nice little a new brush in here. And here, I'll use the lasso tool here, and there's my wonderful. I have to think about how I want to approach this stuff here. Let me keep going back to using this. We can make this multiply darker and just. That's what I'm really interested in here, is these like weird tie-dye like rings. Let me turn the tolerance down here. I want like I need to know how to do this. I want some sort of like ASMR microphone. I want a microphone that is just sitting on my keyboard that just gets the keyboard strokes and the sound of my. Oh shit, I'm drawing with my mouse. I didn't even realize. Wait, was I drawing with my mouse there? I think I was. I'm trying to use my actual tablet. I forgot. I need a microphone that is just for the sounds. We need like the maximum ASMR. You know the microphone that the streamer girls have where it's just an ear. It's like it literally looks like an ear and they lick it for some reason. We're not going to do that part. We need that microphone just for my keyboard. Blue Yeti. That is the microphone that everyone had when they were in high school. We don't watch that stuff, buddy. One of you guys knows what I'm talking about. The ear licking ASMR. Like, what kind of ASMR are you watching? I just told you. Where's my timer at? 5 minutes? Okay, we gotta go. Guys, how am I supposed to complete? I haven't gotten very far in 5 minutes. I'm not even gonna lie. Just believe in the process. We'll come back to it after the presentation. I don't know how long the presentation is gonna last. All right. Just believe. If you're not believing, that's it. You know, it's all over after that. It's all we have in life, really. I'm locking in. I'm focusing up. Grab the soft brush. That's too dark. Oh, I'm on multiply mode. Dude, these layer modes are gonna really mess me up here. Saturate, turn down this. This is the rage bait stream opening, where I make a painting that just looks awful and everyone keeps wondering. They keep watching, wondering how it's even possible. And then I bait them in super hard. Think about it. It's like this nice blue sweep right up here in this area that I want. Is this the Schedule 1 music? It really is. I need some more hype music. I only have like Elder Scrolls and Morrowind music and Schedule 1. It's kind of music to do like opium to, or music to do fentanyl to, and we need music to do cocaine to. Maybe not cocaine, but something like that. Something along the lines of cocaine, methamphetamine maybe, or maybe like music to do Adderall too. That's lo-fi hip hop girl. Jake, are you growing older? Couldn't be me. I'm not watching You're My Good Boy ASMR. That's what half of the chat is hoping that I'll tell them right now. Do you think I could give DaVinci a run for his money, Core? Yeah, I am on that wavelength right now. Oh, it's RuneScape OST. We need a little bit of the sailing music. What do you call that? You guys know what I'm talking about? Sea shanty. All right, now we can send off the last 2 minutes of this. Tell me my impression wasn't perfect. Hi Jake, does it make sense to get your Etsy tutorial? Oh, you mean my Gumroad tutorial? I honestly, no. I mean, it's totally not bad, and it's cheaper than the stuff that's going to be coming on the website. So, but I probably will discontinue it when that comes out in a few months, because it's just my website's just going to be significantly better. So if you want something cheap, you want it now, it's not a bad introduction. Or actually what you can do is get the recordings to my underpaint workshop that I did a couple weeks ago. And those are like $50 and they're cheap, and I think they're very nice. And they go over like a lot of those like really core ideas. Me and my bros we're just stimming to Sea Shanty 2. We just out here stimming to Sea Shanty 2. I make zero progress. I draw so slow when I am on stream. It is absolutely maddening. Q is here? Oh, she didn't go to work. Artist takes acid and tries to paint challenge. Yeah. You should have asked me when I was like 19. I would have been like, that's the craziest idea I've ever heard, man. Like, that's... Like, the world is going to be amazed by this. Luckily, I'm 25 now and you don't have to deal with that version of me. Alright. We're going to talk about art history now. All right, boys, let's do this shit. We have to switch to the Elder Scrolls music because, you know, that's what's up. And we're going to here, we're going to here. Jean-Léon Jerome said, what? So I actually, guys, I wanted to... All right, here's the deal. I answer a lot of questions, and I answer the same questions over and over and over and over again, pretty much, like, a lot. And especially when people are coming into my live streams, and I will spout off some, like, crazy answer very quickly, but it's not exactly... You know, I'm speaking casually, or I'm trying to say things in a very succinct way. And I think that sometimes the way that I do that gives off the wrong impression of how I approach these ideas. So I wanted to walk through some art history stuff just to give you guys a better understanding of what, like, actual drawing was in the 19th century and where these ideas come from. And so I am... starting this off here by... Did I lag for a second? All right. I think we're good. I don't see any drop frames. 0%. It's on you. We good? I am starting this off here by responding to a comment that is critiquing me, which I don't read all the comments. I really don't. I read a good amount of them, and, you know... Most comments, it's like I get some of the craziest, meanest comments ever. That type of stuff doesn't bother me. It's just like what it is being online. But I'm happy to like read somebody's like actual fair critique of me. So this type of stuff doesn't like bother me, but I'm responding to it because I see this type of sentiment sometimes, and I see some of the ideas brought up here. Get brought up against me when I even like correct people in the Discord or talk about stuff in the Discord, like when I'm pushing back on somebody using grisaille. Like I see these types of things pop up a lot, which is why I wanted to put together a little bit of a presentation on them. So without further ado, this was the comment I got the other day that was, I think it's a good comment, and I want to talk about some of this stuff. So I like Jake, but he's just as dogmatic as the academies he criticizes. No grisailles, no toned canvases, no indirect painting, because that's not how they did it in the 19th century. I found a lot of these things helpful, and they are absolutely historical examples of their uses. A cast painting is essentially a grisaille and has been a component of classical education and serves the same educational purpose. I found the disrespect towards Paul Ingredbredson and bad taste as well. He's a student of Gamel. So this is referring to last stream. I was talking about a guy named Paul Ingridson, and I called him Paul Inbredson. He's a student of Gamel and clearly has a lot to offer students in the most respectful way possible. I think he ought to curb the arrogance a bit. We're all students of nature in the Masters. Okay, cool. So there's two parts to this. One is me calling Paul Ingridson inbred. I'm going to stand by that tentatively right now. The part on top of it, the top part of it, I'm happy to respond to. I actually want to go through some of this stuff because I genuinely think that it is important that what I say doesn't come off, because I will say something very dogmatically, but I don't actually mean it in a way that is to be prescribed the exact way that I tell people it. And it gets a little bit confusing sometimes. So I want to talk about that. I was going to talk a little bit more about this second part because it's like funny, interesting stuff, but like it's just so boring to get through this guy's videos that I'd have to sit here and like I spent like an hour this morning, like 2x speed watching some of his videos, and it's just so boring that I couldn't show it to you guys and respond to it to explain why I hold these opinions, because you guys would all leave. So we're gonna talk first. We're just gonna talk about French academies in these tones. You know, no grisaille, no tone canvases, no indirect painting, because that's what they did in the 19th century. Well, just first, one thing, too. I found a lot of these things helpful. A cast painting is essentially a grisaille and has always been a component of classical education. I have never seen a French 19th century cast painting. I've never seen one. And if someone could show me one, I would love to see one. I might have seen some from like the Spanish academies. They did really long drawings. But I have never seen a cast painting. Really, nobody painted casts. They just drew them because there's no point in painting a cast because you've already drawn it. It's the same thing. It's just like a waste of paint, and there are more, that's expensive. So I don't think that's there. But again, let's back up and go off to a broader point here. I'm reading the chat here for a second. The cast paintings usually come from England. Never seen one from France. Yeah, I've seen some. I have some Royal Academy drawings down here I'm going to talk about in a little bit. It doesn't surprise me at all that they've done cast painting at like Royal Academy. But I haven't... I'd love to see one. That wouldn't surprise me though. I tried to like look some up very briefly before this to find some and nothing came up. But sometimes it's hard to actually find this stuff. So a lot of the research I've been doing lately is I've been reading, I've read a whole bunch of different things, but I read something by a guy named Edward Poynter. And Edward Poynter, he gave a bunch of lectures to art schools in England in the 19th century because they were trying to reform their education because they were just kind of not very good at drawing. The English had gotten a lot worse at drawing, and people were making fun of them, essentially. The French were laughing at their paintings, and so they needed to reform their education. Poynter gave these lectures to a few different schools. Ramon corrected me on this. He didn't. I said last stream he gave them to the Royal Academy, but this is Poynter's art, by the way. He didn't give him to the Royal Academy. He gave him to a school called Slade, which was kind of competing with the Royal Academy, but it was also like an ongoing parliamentary thing. It's these essays are really good and talk about not all of them are relevant, but they talk about how people should be trained and how the French trained and why it's successful, which is like the most invaluable thing that anyone can say. And it's coming from a guy who can paint like this and who trained people to paint like this. So I think that we should probably listen to him. And if you don't want to listen to him, I will reiterate this point from a few other sources as well later on. So when we're talking about no grisailles and no cast painting or whatever, no tone canvases, all that stuff, Poynter talks about it here in his lecture. So now almost every painter has his pet system of painting. There are all sorts of schemes for underpainting, glazing, scumbling, and 100 other processes, which are calculated to give transparency to the shadows, brightness to the lights, solidity to the masses, and I know not what. The impression The impression apparently being that solidity and transparency are to be obtained by some trick of painting, rather than imitating the aspects of nature. But with all of this, the student has nothing to do. It appears to me obvious that if in making a study, he can so match on his canvas the colors and tone of the object he is painting, that an exact resemblance shall result. Nothing further can be wished for. If this is achieved, the object will appear solid, and the shadows will appear transparent as a matter of course. The intention is so to train the student's eye so that he shall be able to see, and see at once, the tones and colors of the model. And if he is always painting colors which he does not see, with a view of correcting them afterwards by glazes and other methods, what probability is there that he will even see color truly? So, this is so good. And I realized something when I did a study of this painting by... Actually, I just thought of this. A painting by Henri Renaud. Let me pull this painting up here. Oh. Right. Let me just grab the... not the link. Please stop opening 100 instances of Reddit. I just want the image copy. I'm boomer posting. All right, I did a study of this painting by Renault. And let me grab it. Years ago, I looked at this painting when I was first starting, and I looked closely at it, as you should. And you can see that there's like a general brown wash over here, and then there's like these brushstrokes applied on top of it. And how when you zoom into the skin, you can see how there's like that general brown mass under here. But then scrubbed on top of that, there's like these darker tones. There's this more grayish, bluish tone. There's these warmer tones at the plane transitions. And so I looked at this, and I saw that... You know, this must be some type of indirect painting, right? What is happening here is there's like washes of paint that are going down, and they're loose and they're runny from some turpentine or medium that's mixed into them, and then another layer is going on top. And I've really kind of believed that for this, you know, and really a long time. Now, I know from a lot of reading that the French did not paint this way, and Renaud is is a French academic painter pretty much entirely. And here's my study. But I just sat down, you know, like I it's so easy to see like very thick paintings and see that type of thickness on them. But the other night I just sat down and I just painted this one in like 2 sessions. It was like 3 hours total. And you can see that same sort of transparency in these areas. It's very glary, sorry. But you can see the same transparency happening in my version of it as well. But I didn't do any sort of weird indirect washes. I didn't do a burnt umber block in. I didn't do any sort of laying in. I didn't do any sort of grisaille or any sort of glazing. And it hit me that this sort of like washiness doesn't come from that like indirect technique. It just comes from when you have paint on your brush and you just scrub it into the canvas. Like that's just like you just scrub it in, and then you take more paint and you just put it on top thicker, and some of that scrubbed in texture shows when you put the paint on top thicker. Like that's it. And like you can look for theory and technique all you want, but the French guys were just like, just take it and just scrub it in. And I realized that, like, I've known for years that the French paint directly, that they don't do all these weird techniques at this time. But I could still look at things and have my eyes deceive me and be like, there must be something more. But then I just tried it one day without even, thinking about it. And it just happened naturally. And that's what Pointer's talking about here when he's talking about transparency. He can match the colors on his canvas and the tone of the object he is painting, then an exact resemblance shall result. Nothing further can be wished for. If this is achieved, the object will appear solid, and the shadows will appear transparent as a matter of course. Versus The virgin loser who's using all of these techniques, underpainting, glazing, scumbling, and 100 other processes which are calculated to give transparency to the shadows, brightness to the light, solidity to the masses. These people are putting the theory and the logic before the horse, right? They're putting this idea that like, oh, we have to do all of this crazy conceptualization of everything and follow these rigid techniques to get there, versus like, you know, I'm just going to scrub the right color into the canvas, and then I'm going to put a more right color on top of it because I missed a little bit the first time. Or I put an average tone, and now I need a specific tone. Like that, there's something that's so incredible about that. By the way, these lectures are from the 1860s, which is pretty early. It's there's Impressionists, but before really the Impressionists had a stronghold. Okay. Where did I leave off? The intention is to train the student's eye so that he shall be able to see and see at once the tones and the colors of his model. If he is always painting colors which he does not see with a view of correcting them afterwards by glazes and other methods, what probability is there that he will even see color truly? His only chance is by matching each tint and each gradation of tint to gain the practice necessary in seeing, which is the all-important matter. It is his eye which he must educate to learn the art of painting. The right tones placed in the right places, and all the work is done. That is the whole mastery of painting for a student. Aided by his previous practice in drawing, the hand certainly educates itself with the eye. Right, so this isn't... So when I'm saying like, don't paint indirectly because that's not what they did in the 19th century, it comes off as dogmatic. But the system of education here is really just like, just do the simplest thing ever. Because if you try to do all these calculated techniques, you're only ever going to be able to do the super calculated techniques. Oh, what's up, Caterpillar? I'm Caterpillar. Wait. I'm Caterpillar posting. Okay. We're getting back to that. Let me read some chat here for a little bit. I feel like most people overcomplicate things for no reason. Where's that? It works against them. Yep, it works against them. And that's the type of thing, too, with like the digital art that I was talking about earlier. It's like if you're always trying to make digital look traditional, like you're always fighting against the wall of digital. And like you just should use digital for what it is. And you should use traditional for what it is. Like, you can't do all these crazy selection masking techniques, right? Like, I can't be like, oh, and then like soft brush or whatever on traditional. So I should just do what traditional is really good at, right? Cast painting is when. So sorry, guys. I know that there's a huge, broad variety of people that come to these streams, so I try to define things as much as possible, but feel free to hop in. So cast painting is they have all these Greek sculptures in the French Academy, like this one, and they would sit and they would draw the cast, right? The cast is a plaster cast of classic sculpture. So they actually had, let me grab a picture of it. They had this giant hall full of all of these famous casts of sculptures. And there was really no instruction. I mean, people had experience before they went in here, but you would just go in here and you would draw. And that was, how students learned the basics of drawing. You would just... You sit on a little stool on the ground. You prop up the back of your drawing board against the back of a chair that's either overturned, or a stool that's on it that's overturned, or a chair that's turned around so the back's facing you, and you just sit there. This guy's got two stools, a short stool and a chair, and you just sit there and you draw. This is him getting his work critiqued. So that's what cast drawing, cast painting is. And then indirect painting is like we use like a bunch of layers and stuff like that in order to build up a painting to get a certain effect, which is generally something that I'm always like telling people not to focus on, and don't do the whole grisaille or the paint black and white and the glaze stuff on top, because broadly, it's not what they did in the 19th century, but the reason why they didn't do it in the 19th century is because they wanted to inform students to have a really base set of skills that they could apply to anything and let the complicated things happen to them as a result, rather than focusing on all the complicated processes first. Okay, so this is a good segue. So this is what the life of a French student in the 19th century is like. The progression of a student, or pretty much everywhere. This is what drawing education was. So first, you would draw from the engravings, or from the plates, or from the flats. Those are all the same. Those are all different names for the same thing. So that's what the Barg plates are. You guys might have seen these plates. These are very popular, and your intention is to copy them and learn how to draw by copying them, right? But plate copying is actually much, much older than the Barg plates. So the Barg plates are actually some of like the latest plates that we have in history. I need to find a better place to put my my stream window. The Barg plates are from like, I don't know, the 1860s maybe? And they're from Jérôme's atelier. Jérôme is one of the most famous teachers of the time. But these plates have been around for a long time before that. We got Preisler here from the 18th century who did all these kind of crazy plates with different, you can see center lines, construction lines, showing the proportions of the face. This is from a really early 19th century, really late 18th century drawing book where they have all these different types of plates. So this is how people learned how to draw back in the day. You would, just sit down and you'd copy stuff like this. And this is from, again, like really early 19th century. People like to say that like construction or stuff didn't exist. Here's some center lines, some cross-sectional views of the head and, how that actually looks. All that type of stuff they used really early on. This type of stuff is really old, really, really old. This is called foxing of the paper. It's where like mold or rust gets on the paper. Yeah, this stuff it's been around for a really long time. The thing is that these plates really sucked. Like, it's really hard if you don't know anything about drawing. Like, how are you going to make use of this? And that was kind of the problem too with before the Barg plates, about 20 years before, I think. A guy named Bernard Romain Julien made some plates, and these ones are really beautiful. Like, he's really good at hatching, and they're really nice and lovely. But the problem with them is that it just starts out with this and then it goes to this. So it's not, again, these like stuff it's really hard to use. They weren't very good at teaching this stuff back then. Like, look how insanely goofy this is. This one is really good. It's like it's like when you take a PNG and you stretch it on a balloon. I don't even know how to make a drawing look like that. It's really funny because like the guy could draw. Like, so I don't know what this is intentional, and I'm not 100% sure why this is the intention. But yeah, someone just said these are the OG TikTok tutorials. That's 100% correct. Now, the thing is that people would get too obsessed with plate drawing, right? Like, it's good to copy some of this stuff so that you can learn basic proportions, or you can learn, just how to hold your pencil and how to move your arm across the surface of the page. But people would get way too into these, and they'd copy mark for mark every single hatching, and they'd make it super accurate and super beautiful and super lovely. But then they'd sit down in front of the real model or even a plaster cast, and they would have no idea what to do, and they'd start cross-hatching away, and they would just turn out to be a mess because they didn't have real strategies for drawing. They had strategies for copying things, right? Which is it's issues that we still see today. Where did I put my quotes for that? I messed up my order here. Okay, this is a fun anecdote from... This is a fun story from Academy Julien. This is where Bouguereau taught. So this is a story about Bouguereau giving a critique to a student. And... let me think here. Can I give us any more context? No, that's fine. So my knowledge of French, I will give a little more context, and I remember. This is about, it's from a novel of a 13-year-old boy named Shirley Fox, and he was really rich and from England, and his dad wanted him to be a painter, so he moved him to Paris, and then got him teaching lessons. He brought him into the academies and the French Academy of Fine Art, and he got lessons with Bouguereau and all of the best painters around, and he became a pretty good painter. So this guy was incredibly privileged. Actually, after he was brought to Paris, after a few months of training, his dad had to return home, and his dad was faced with the option of leaving his son alone to study in Paris at the age of 13, or take his son back to England and remove him from his education. And his dad decided that the right decision there was to leave his son in Paris to grow up for the rest of his teenage years alone, studying in all these academies. And the kid was very smart, and he actually did an incredible job and became a good artist. So that's what the context of this is. So my knowledge of French being by this time fairly complete, I was largely in request to act as an interpreter between the professor, Philomelth, and those English-speaking students who had a need of such services. I will remember a rather amusing incident in this connection. A certain student had lately joined us from across the channel, whose methods of work seemed to embody all the vices of the system then in vogue of teaching antique drawing at South Kensington. So a little bit of context here. So he speaks English and French, so sometimes people come into the Academy Julian from England, and that's what this is, South Kensington. This is the Royal Academy. So this guy is very good at drawing from the antique or these old casts and plates at the Royal Academy. His one object appeared to be to get in as much as possible of that stylish shading known as cross-hatching, quite irrespective of any idea of form or proportion. Beginning carefully with one eye, he elaborately finished this before attempting even to sketch in the other. Having done the eyes, he then fitted a nose onto them as best as he might, and when this was completed, went on to the mouth. So he continued down the whole length of the figure, finishing each bit as he went before attempting the next. The shading was most beautiful, but anything more absurd or inaccurate in proportion is difficult to imagine. The whole room was immensely tickled by this extraordinary production, and it was with some misgivings as to what it might be my lot to have to translate that I took my place at his side when Bouguereau sat down to criticize his drawing. So essentially, this guy, he's really good at copying plates, from the Royal Academy, but he doesn't actually know how to sit down in front of the plaster casts. And so he's got this beautiful cross-hatching, and he's drawing the most perfect anime eye possible, and then the most other perfect anime eye possible, the perfect nose, working his way down the body, and everyone is just behind him, laughing at him. So then Bouguereau comes over to critique. The master looked for some time at the remarkable work before him, and heaved a gentle sigh, turning right round and gazing curiously into the face of its author, as if to see what manner of man could have possibly produced such a curiosity. He finally remarked in a sympathetic voice, "Monsieur, are you seeing clearly?" Which Shirley Fox translates to, "He says you've got the head too small." That was my rather free translation of this interrogation. Oh, I put down a little bit more. It was too small by several sizes, was patent to everyone, and it seemed better thus to render Bouguereau's remark than to stick too closely to accuracy. Our friend was subsequently consigned to a course of antique work, so again, drawing from the casts, with an admonition? What is an admonition? With an admonition to devote a little more attention to proportion and less to cross-hatching. This is Bouguereau and Shirley Fox, and this is what, these antique casts would have looked like. Antique just referring to antiquity, by the way, like classic Greece. So, basically, these things were used in France, but they were mostly dedicated to children, essentially. The bark plates really were kind of intended for kids, and they didn't copy or do work from the bark plates at the French Academy. It was French Academy students who made, and Jerome, the teacher, who made the bark plates. They did not draw from these at the academies. They only drew from life and from the actual sculptures in the cast hall. And these bark plates and other plate courses were for kids to copy. to understand the absolute most basics, and then they would remove them from that as soon as possible. That way they could actually learn to draw from things that are real instead, like this type of stuff, right? And even drawing from a sculpture is not as real as drawing from life, because a Greek sculpture has these perfect, beautiful love handle obliques, and it's got this perfect anatomy, and it just presents itself in a way that's not actually real, right? But it's much easier to understand than a human. And so you don't want to draw the antique for too long either. You want to move on from there. And to show you guys that in France, once you got up to the adult level, they really didn't like these. There's a little story here. This one is from a woman named Marie Bashkirtseff. All of her journals or diaries are published. And Marie was a really rich young girl from the Russian Empire. I think maybe she's in like modern day Ukraine, but very, very rich. And she basically just went to Paris eventually and became a painter and became very, very good. She got really good. But she is very dramatic and very annoying, and she's such an attention-seeking brat. She drives me fucking crazy. Reading her diaries is just all of the ramblings of a teenage girl. But there is a really nice part where she also went to the same academy, same place this is happening, Academy Julian. She went there, and she is talking to Tony Robert Fleury, who is another teacher there alongside Bouguereau. And this is her first week or so drawing. She does a sketch from the figure, and Fleury comes in and he starts remarking that it's a very good drawing. You know, the best artists in Paris come now and then to give us their advice. I began last Wednesday, and he could not come on the Saturday of the same week. So that, for me, it was his first visit. When he came to my easel and began to pronounce judgment, I interrupted him. Excuse me, monsieur. I only began 10 days ago. Where did you draw before? Tony Robert Fleury, one of the teachers, asked, looking at my drawing. Nowhere. What do you mean by nowhere? Well, I took 32 lessons in painting to amuse myself. That isn't working. I know, monsieur, and you never drew from life before you came here. Never, monsieur. Impossible, I assure you. You have never had advice. Oh yes, 4 years ago I took lessons as a little girl. They made me copy engravings. That's the plates. That's nothing at all. That's not what I mean. And he still seemed incredulous, I had to add, and this kind of goes on. They literally didn't see copying plates as like real drawing. Like it was basically like fake drawing. And there's other text too about, there's other text too where they're like, it's kind of feminine. It's kind of gay to copy plates like they do in England. Pretty much the French only cared about like drawing from life and drawing sculpture a little bit. So the type of sculptural drawings that came out of the French Academy, they looked like this, right? And they were done in 12 hours. They're at a large scale, A2, 18 by 24. These are from life, of course. These two are from sculpture. And these are, from the plaster cast that they have. And they were done in only 12 hours, which is pretty incredible. It's very fast. It's very efficient. And you can notice that when you zoom in and you look at areas that really are not spectacularly rendered. The type of stuff that you saw at the Royal Academy in England, where they're doing all this crazy super long drawing, is like this, where it would take months or a year to make a drawing like this. And they are stippling the paper, which is you're drawing with a super long sharpened out graphite pencil, and you're literally filling in the individual holes in the grain of the paper to get more even transitions. So like this stuff is very beautiful and super formy and nice, but there's so much more benefit in doing one of these every single week versus doing one of these a year, or maybe two, three of these a year, right? And most people, they just would never finish these. It's the same type of stuff you see at the academies nowadays. Like the academies, like if you look at like GCA cast drawings, that's Grand Central Academy, a place in New York City or Long Island. Almost all of their cast drawings are never finished. They never finish because they do this exact same type of rendering. It just takes so long. Okay, I have a few quotes about that too. So this is back to Pointer's lectures. I have no doubt that the simplest way of beginning is to make copies of drawing and outline. He's talking about those simple plate drawings or engravings, beginning with easy forms and progressing to more difficult. And the School of Design drawing books by Dyke, blah, 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 this doesn't matter, but this course may be easily carried too far. And in my opinion, it's useful only at the earliest stage as a means of acquiring the steadiness of hand. Basically, you copy plates until you don't need it anymore. So you basically just have control over your pencil. Look at the drawings sent up by the government schools of art to the central competition at South Kensington. That's a Royal Academy. Are any of them executed under 6 weeks of painful stippling with chalk and bread? That's that filling in the paper. They didn't have erasers back then, so they used bread. How much knowledge of the figure is it to be supposed the student has acquired? Work with the use of the point at all events in the way which is prevalent in our art schools not only involves loss of time and the sinking of the study of form and tone in that of mere execution, but concentrates the attention of the student on minute details which blind him to the general effect. It is for this reason I have always advised my students to make use of the stump, that's the big paper stump, rather than the point in shading their drawings. So, when you're focusing like this tiny on gradations, one is you end up like building out these weird conceptual understanding of how form and light works, and you start working from how you think or how you know that these ideas work instead of just doing it the way that it presents it to you. Which again isn't inherently terrible, but it's just not at all like, again, you can build that stuff after you're a good student, but like a student's goal, as outlined here, should just be to learn how to see the most basic elements of everything. We are min-maxing competitive rank drawing. This is how you guys are gonna finally get out of Gold League, okay? We need to get you shitters out of Gold. And then, yeah, we need to start building this out. Wait, somebody asked about what happened to them? Yeah, all these sculptures, by the way, I'm just reading chat, all these sculptures at the Academy are gone. They put them into storage or sold them or something, I don't know. But this whole space now is divided up into a bunch of cubicles with like modern art installations. They don't do any drawing or painting at the French Academy anymore. Just to crush. Sometimes people come into my Discord and they're like, I really want to go to the French Academy of Fine Art. And I'm like, that hasn't existed for 150 years, basically. Like you want to go to a place that doesn't exist. Like they're still there, but they don't teach drawing and painting that way anymore. It's just like a bunch of, contemporary like installation stuff now. So here is a little bit about this type of stuff. The great faculty in drawing the human figure to be found among foreign artists, the French he's talking about, is no doubt mainly due to the fact of there being but a limited time allowed both for painting and drawing from the living model. In the 6 sittings of 2 hours each, which is the usual time allowed to French students in the academy for their drawings from life, drawings are done in which the utmost correctness is combined with the most exquisite finish. In what the French student can do, there is no doubt that an English student ought to do. It is a mere question of the habit of acquiring certainty and facility. If the student is allowed too much time for his work, he will easily fall into lazy and careless habits. So that this practice of early drawing from nature and of being allowed a rigorously limited time for each study, I consider the most important for the acquisition of good style of work. And I think it's very powerful. I think if you invest yourself too heavily within like very long styles of working or these very technique-y ways of working where you're like, I approach stuff with a grisaille, I always work from like a toned canvas, I always work from this or that. The reason why I'm like dogmatic about these ideas is because I'm dogmatic about not being dogmatic. Yeah, like it's hard to describe. I'm not 100% sure how to put it yet. I'm not 100% sure how to put it yet. I went back to watch a bit of your study, and one thing I think I forgot to teach is the contiguous option for magic wand. Turning it off is a great way to create unity. Okay, I'll look at that. I'll look at that when I'm done in a few minutes. I'll figure out what that is. And also, like, there's... I spoke last week, too, about, like, preconceived notion in art. It makes it so it selects the same color everywhere, and the shapes don't have to be connected. Oh, that's interesting. Let me think about how to phrase this. I think that what you have to understand is that every artist through every period in time, even when you're reading history, is responding to the environment that they live in. They're fighting back against whatever things are going on against them right now. And so when I'm making statements like I do, I'm talking to, in my mind, a person who has learned how to draw off of like YouTube, some random Proco and Bauman videos, some random Watts Atelier stuff, some like random like Florence Academy of Art, like that type of stuff, maybe if they're in deep enough, or like TikTok and Instagram Reel Grisaille stuff where they're like, this is how you get great color. You have to glaze. And you know, that's who is in my mind when I'm addressing these type of things. And I'm like over the top about certain things because that's who I'm trying to get my point across to, that like none of this stuff is needed. None of this stuff is necessary. And I think we have like a tendency in a way to create a system out of every single thing that we do. And it's really nice when you can Google anything and get like a step-by-step guide on how to do it. But it's also a problem when you need to do something that doesn't have a step-by-step guide, and you go and you try to find things to like cram into and make, you know, a step-by-step guide of, instead of just like approaching it honestly and with good intention. That's what I think is tough. Yeah, and you get stuff like the Loomis method too, which like literally in the back of the book, Loomis is like, you shouldn't draw every head the same. Heads should not look like as if they came off of an assembly line. And then people like don't ever read that. They don't ever care about that stuff, and they draw every head exactly the same, and they're like, here's a tutorial on how to do the Loomis method. He's rolling in his grave at you guys, and that's why, you know, I am the way that I am. As far as this stuff goes, like I talked last week about preconceived notion and like how these guys were really good at getting they could make stuff look incredibly realistic, but where was I reading that this morning? Accuracy isn't everything. If you distill something down into a million angles and get every one of those angles correctly, you can get something that's perfectly accurate, but it doesn't look like the person. It doesn't look that accurate. And you can have a degree of inaccuracy that feels more like the original model. And the examples I gave, let me pull this up last week, was I rendered out this sculpture. Pull this in here. Like, I had a more accurate drawing of this guy's head in my start than him, and I restarted because it was too stiff. It was too accurate. I didn't like it. This head is not a good representation of this head. It is stretched out. It's a little bit goofy. It's a little bit weird. Probably the eyes aren't placed correctly. But this feels way more like the model than a really stiff, perfectly accurate drawing. This is incredibly beautiful. It's really good. It has an element of character in it, right? It is the character of the model. And it's more accurate than just pure accuracy can get to. Where was I reading that this morning? Oh my God, I read so much stuff this morning. That was really important. Why didn't I save that? Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I need to find that. What did I read this morning? I read so many things. I gotta find that. Okay, I gotta find that. And I talked about how if you like shed some preconceived notions about how like accuracy or how to set up stuff, then you can get to stuff that's more like this. And that's very true. That's what I talked about last week. obviously these guys still understood proportion. They still understood anatomy. They still understood form. These, Jerome writes about knowing every single muscle in the body and how they connect and where they move from, and that's an essential element. And then Bridgman was Jerome's student, and obviously he pushed that much further. Like, these guys believe in that stuff. So just because I say you want to shed preconceived notion doesn't mean you should shed everything. There's a balance here that needs to happen, and I think that balance is like so good in these French drawings because they do stuff like this that is like the most insane thing you've ever seen, and then you zoom in and you see this, right? Like, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense in a way that if you try to put logic to it, it won't make sense. But if you're just like vibe based and you know your shit, but also you know when to make art, it makes sense. So I don't want to try to apply a bunch of theory to it. Vibes can be theory sometimes. And I can't give a certain prescriptive statement on how you should learn that. I'm not 100% sure yet. This is a quote from Bouguereau about his studies early on, when he was studying at the French Academy of Fine Art. He was studying with a man named Picot. During that period of my studies, around 1846, when progress was slow or almost nil, and when no one was willing to provide the explanations my soul craved for, I experienced, it was just after my arrival in Paris, many discouraging weeks. It was in this state of mind one day when, strolling through the Louvre, I saw the casts of the Parthenon pediment. How can I describe the emotion I felt? A veil fell from my eyes. Never had I experienced such deep and intense joy. What was it I saw in these wonderful plasters? I understood the subtlety of accents in contrast with large planes. It is that which makes a drawing great. This truth, which I have yearned all my life to express, which still drives me on, is the secret of art. It applies to composition as well to drawing proper. It is the principle that must guide both a beginner and the fully developed artist. The subtlety of accents in contrast to the large plane, and it's perfectly summarized in Greek casts too, but also. It's what makes a head like this work. Because there is no tone here. There's no contrast. Like, the head isn't rendered. Well, there is contrast, but the head isn't rendered. You hardly see any hair. This is haphazard. There's no rhyme or reason to most of this mark making. But it's the contrast between the dark accents and the broad planes that make something beautiful. And you actually don't need to overcook it. You don't need to cook everything. Read about the character of the model in the Globies book this morning. Oh, you're reading the Globie book. That's a good book. He's a little bit more... Yeah, I don't know. The Soviets had different views. By the way, yeah, they did know a lot about construction back then. And Pointer talks about construction. Everyone talks about construction, building out mass. So the whole Paul Ingridson, I'm not going to get to. But yeah, I was going to talk about how he has this video about how they didn't do any construction back then. And yeah, it was stupid. Yeah, I'll save you guys. I'll save you that. Okay, finally, I have some stuff from Julian Alden Weir. These are letters he wrote back to his family. There's a whole book of them. Julian Alden Weir describes the technique at the French academies. Wait, not weird. Weird. I think it's IE. Maybe it's EI. I before E except after C. Something like that. Where did you find those 2 drawings from life? I want to read more. That's the really annoying part, and that's why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. These photos I got from Ramon Hurtado, who has, I think, right? Is it .com? Yeah. The guy taught me, and he's a brilliant teacher, and we're making a website together right now. But he has a database of drawings like this on it, and he has a bunch of free downloads too. A lot of that stuff is going to be able to go onto my website in a more organized way, which is really nice. And we already have a bunch of blog posts and stuff about more about this type of stuff, there is nowhere that I can send you to read about this. And that's the really frustrating part. People are like, where'd you find this drawing? I want to go like read an article about it. It doesn't exist. There's nowhere to read about this stuff. There are like some places, but only in the 19th century books. Like, I don't know. It's really frustrating. So we're changing that. We're changing that. It's coming. May 1st, that website's coming. We're getting close now. 2 weeks. The app that I'm using here is called Figma. Figma. If it's not accuracy, what's actually the goal about drawing from life? That's the problem with all this stuff, is that I can say, like, it's not about pure accuracy. It's about understanding the character, the essence of the model. But, like, it's easy to say it's not about accuracy when the guys are, like, this good. It is about accuracy. But it's about more than just accuracy. Like, that's why this type of stuff is different from photography, right? I think that's an important thing here. People think that people don't draw like this anymore because the camera was invented. But that's not the truth. This type of drawing and painting and 19th century stuff, it wasn't about just making a photographic reproduction of the person for their portrait painting so that they can hang it on their wall. It was about, like, conveying who the spirit of the model was, who the essence of that person was. You know, it was about conveying more than a photo could ever convey. And it's tough because in America, we don't really have a lot of these great paintings. Like, I actually haven't seen a lot of, like, the great paintings I talk about. I haven't been to that many galleries in my life, or museums. I think it's really easy to lose touch with the fact that, like, these paintings and drawings are more than just about being realist. They're like a portal into another world, and they really become like something that a photo could never become. And not to say that, like, photography is an art in its own, but it's different. Like, it does something different. A painter can do more than just that. So it's easy for me to be like, well, you know, you don't need preconceived notions, you don't need all this theory, you don't need accuracy, but, like, you have to understand, I'm talking about people that paint and draw like this, right? So, like, yeah, the beginner needs accuracy. The beginner should first learn, like, basic proportions of the body and how to take, you know, maybe comparative measurements with their thumb and pencil. It's just as you grow as an artist, there's much more than just being a human photocopier. Art should communicate more than the limits of language. AI makes drawings from prompts that are already by nature limited by words. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I feel like people get into a bad habit of letting pedagogy limit their understanding rather than guide them where useful and diverging from that. It hinders them. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I have a couple quotes here from a book called The Painter in Oil by Parkhurst. And they're really great quotes about, like, direct painting and how people don't really do, like, indirect painting and stuff. Maybe I can read those in a second. But, like, he also spends a good amount of the book talking about what glazing is and where it's useful and where it's not, and how every painter at the end goal should paint in whichever way suits their goals or whichever way is best suited for the type of work that they do. But a student can't take on that goal. Like, a student's one goal should just be to learn how to see, to learn how to convey the most basic elements. That way they can pick up any other skill. It's like, you know, it's like a trade or something. You know, you need some base level of skill to be able to convey this stuff. And then once you have that skill, you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, this will work on that note too. This is with Julian Alden. We are talking about Atelier Jerome. Let me grab a Jerome painting here because a lot of you guys probably aren't even familiar. Jerome's one of the best teachers of the 19th century, and to be honest, his paintings are, I think that, like, the modern eye is, like, not, I'll just pull some stuff from his Wikipedia randomly. He wasn't the best at color. It actually says in one of these books that that his studio was, like, the worst at color. You know, his figures look a little bit plasticky. Pull something up here. There we go. Here's one. But he trained some of the best students ever. You know, I think Jerome's students surpassed him in some ways. Why is the MFA website isn't loading? Let me Man, I hate searching for paintings online. Oh, here's a good one. Gladiator. Wait, this one's good too. Okay, cool. There's 3. Just wanted 3. You know, Jerome's paintings are really good. I mean, this is one of his better portraits ever. This one does feel nice, but you know, Jerome's paintings always feel like a little bit plasticky. He was known to be one of the most dogmatic in his atelier, which is his workshop within the French Academy. There was multiple different workshops in the French Academy, and Jerome had one of them. The way that it worked is like pretty much like anyone could just go and become a member of the French Academy, which was the École des Beaux-Arts, the School of Fine Arts. That's what École means. But within the École, there was 3 ateliers, basically, and it depends on which. This reforms and changes every 10 years too. It's annoying. It's at the end of the day, they're French. You got to remember that. So they make everything needlessly annoying. But they had Cabanel. They had Jerome at this time, and I don't know. This third one swapped out a lot, but there was like a guy named Pills at one point too. And then I think there's a time with like Lehman, and there was Corman and stuff. Jerome was in there for a really, really, really long time, though. Jerome lived for a long time, and he taught for a really long time, and he trained so many great students. You know, these guys, they would just choose, like, you could just walk up to them and show them your portfolio, and they could just let you into their atelier. It wasn't some sort of rigid testing process. Now, there was a test too, and there's this thing called Yvonne's. It was actually called the Yvonne or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically the contest of Yvonne. And so there's this guy named Yvonne who had a evening drawing class, and that one you had to test into, and it was the top 70 students could test into there. And every 6 months you had to retest and it was like a figure drawing from life, and they would rank you 1 to 70, and only the top 70 got in. Every 6 months you had to retest back into the same school. So only the best students were in Yvonne's workshop. And that took place at evening, means like 4 to 6 p.m. And then you'd study with one of your atelier guys for 4 hours in the morning and afternoon. Okay, so this is Jerome's atelier, Jerome's workshop. That's what atelier means. And it's an American guy named Julian Alden Weir. He's writing a letter to his family. You ask about the manner of study at the Beaux-Arts École. Each student that goes into the antique until he draws a tolerably fair figure, and then directly to the life. So, tolerably fair, not really good fair, drawing from the cast until you're pretty good, and then you get to draw from life. Not the damn insane ideas of, I don't know who this is, Jacquesson, keeping a person for several years at the plaster. So, what these other crazy schools are doing. When one draws tolerably well from life, again, this really interesting word here, tolerably well. When one draws tolerably well from life, which is to be judged by the professor, then he goes to painting. By only doing a part, a head, an arm, a torso, etc. And what is a great merit of the strength of the French art is that the student has his palette and color and studies to paint what he sees, without any receipt or Mother Goose's remedy, or in other words, to represent what he sees honestly with solid paintings. That's no crazy processes, no Mother Goose's remedy, which is a really funny phrase. We got to start using that one. That's the TikTok grisaille right there. That's the anime eye TikTok tutorial. Basically, you set up your palette, your colors, and you just sit down and paint. Again, they're really good at drawing before they sit down and paint. Probably not this good. These guys might have already been painting. I'm not 100% sure. But really good. The students who paint the whole figure generally spend 2 days in drawing it in. As regards to a student leaving, he ought never to leave until he has arrived at a state where his work does not improve. There are men in Jerome's who have been there for 13 years, but this might be said to be too long. Yeah, that's very long. Normally, most people studied between like 6, 7, 8 years, generally. Not just at Jerome's, but like at other studios too, and then maybe they would go to Jerome's for like a couple years or whatever, right? There's lots of other private schools outside of there. The models they have are selected by the students from those who show themselves every Monday. This is kind of boring. This is just the models come up and they choose once a month. We have a female. In the drawing, they use the stump, which is that big paper stump, shading just enough to express the darks and half tints, and always they make them take in the whole of the paper. So using the entire paper, it's 18 by 24 A2 size, the head within a 1/4 inch of the top and the same of the bottom if standing. So they always try to use up the whole paper. They don't like randomly cram a figure into the small one, which is really cool. And a lot of times you'll even see, these are prize-winning drawings, that's why they have the stamp and stuff. You'll even see sometimes like a couple toes go off the bottom of the page and get cut off, and they'll still win a prize. It was more important to them that they use the whole space, even if they run it too close and get it cut off, rather than not do it. Blah, blah, blah. They find where the model would come and then how many heads high the model is, looking for the grand lines, so big sweeping lines of action through the figure, and how many head heights it is. You mark it out on the page, and a plumb line. Perspective, anatomy, history of art are twice a week, but the most necessary and the greatest advantage of the École is that we have the life model 4 hours a day to paint from. Then in Yvonne's school, for the 70 best, have from 4 till 6 every afternoon. If you could get someone to leave some money or endow a chair for a model 4 hours each day, it would not advance your school more rapidly than in any other way. Basically, there's nothing better for your drawing. You know, like, yeah, we got perspective and anatomy twice a week and art history, but like fuck that shit. Like, the most important part is we just draw from the models 4 hours a day. Maybe 6 if you're in the 70 best. For there, they can study color and drawing, not as Rembrandt, Rubens, nor Jerome, but nature inspires them. So no sort of set technique. In Jerome's atelier, he comes around twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. In Cabanel's, he comes around once a week. And in Pill's, he only visits the atelier occasionally. So these teachers hardly showed up. They learned a lot from their friends, from the older students in the studio. Pill's, they say, is the strongest in color. Cabanel and Jerome last. Jerome is very severe with the drawing of representing the model as near as possible, which I think is the school for a student. He is liberal and says nothing to the manner. What he wants is to have the students study serious, for which I confess I have not learnt, comparatively speaking. In using the stump, he will not let the beginner put in anything but the principal darks, laying in only the shadows, and not until he has advanced will he let them put in the demi-teinte, which is just... He only lets them just block in the base shadows first, and then once they get a little bit better at their big proportions and stuff like that, he lets them use the stump to gradate and make modeling and tones within the face. But only a shadow lay in it first. Pretty standard stuff. With regard to the new student in color, give him no theories. He has nature before him. Let him represent it. After he draws the model in with charcoal, he sets it by pouring milk on it, and then he rubs it dry over a general tone of the flesh, and the background in the right value with it. So they didn't have fixative back then, so they would pour milk on their drawings or spray milk on their drawings. And that actually does fix the drawing down somehow. And then you draw, when you paint, you scrub a general skin tone over the model. We're getting a little bit off topic here. And you put the drapery in the background. Make the model, paint the background as it is and not a la mode. I didn't know what that meant. It means like fashionable. So just paint it as you see it. The background, don't make it like fancy, flashy. So don't make like a bunch of crazy abstract patterns and colors in the background. Just do what you see. In Jerome's, there's about 70 students. The model is on a raised platform or throne. The light comes in through a large window. So you see the painting and drawing from life both in the same room. If there's not enough stools or places in front, the draftsman takes easel, but not unless. So pretty much everyone drew, by the way, sitting through most of history. It's very uncommon for people to draw standing up at easels, which is just an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but this is essentially what it is, right? You draw from the plates until you can hold a pencil. And then you draw from the antique so that you can get the basic proportions. You know some basic anatomy, whatever the teacher can diagram for you on the side of your paper or explain to you or show you on a skeleton hanging in the classroom, but not a lot of anatomy. It's not helpful for a student at this stage. And the Greek sculptures, they do most of it for you. Also, apparently the Greeks didn't dissect people. It just wasn't couth. That's my first time using that word. What do you guys think? It wasn't very couth. So they didn't. Apparently, Greeks didn't know that much about internal anatomy, and they made some pretty good sculptures. So if it's good enough for the Greeks, then you probably don't really need to know that much anatomy. What the Greeks did do is they knew proportions. So like how many heads tall the figure is, the basic proportions of the body, which you can learn from any drawing book. And then once you're tolerably fair at that, tolerably fair at this, tolerably fair at this, tolerably fair, you move to drawing from life and then painting from life, blah, blah, blah. There is no fancy techniques, and I don't like those fancy techniques. People will say things like, oh, but the grid method really helped me, or using grisailles really helped me. But yeah, they can be helpful to you, but you're doing something equally dangerous. You're implementing something you're introducing some level of theory that is really could be quite harmful early on. And I think that there's just as much that takes away from you as there is that it gives you in being helpful. It's teaching you to work in a way with a tool that it might really hurt you long term. And that's why I'm pretty, highly against these techniques for students. If you want to work in an indirect manner or, from grisailles or whatever on your own art, then that's fine. I just think that type of stuff, it really can harm the student. And there's something to say about like, oh, I can't get my colors right. I can't do this, unless I do a grisaille and then I glaze and get the right colors over it. The most important thing you need to learn as a student is failure. Like, of course you can't fucking get your colors right. You suck. Like, you're bad. Like, what? How are you so... Maybe I shouldn't come off so strong. How are you so greedy as a student as to say, well, I need this tool because it's the only way I can get things right? You're not supposed to get it right, you fucking idiot. You just have to learn how to fail. Why would you learn these like techniques to make you feel better? This is where I'm getting into this. I'm going to become a conservative old man one day. The kids these days, they don't work hard enough. They need to get up and tell them they need to get up and go to work. But really, like, why do you insist on how much these things help you? Like, you're not supposed to be good. You're not supposed to, like, it's okay. Like, it's better that you set your expectations for your own work really, really, really low early on, and you just enjoy the process of learning, and the skill and the accuracy and that type of stuff will come with time as you look for answers, as you learn new theory, as you learn new things, rather than being like, oh, but this really helped me early on, but it's going to hurt you later on. That's my opinion on this stuff. Keep it down. Sorry about that, guys. Get up and go to work. Nobody wants to work nowadays, says the YouTuber who's holding a live stream. Yeah, pretty much that. Like, pretty much that. I don't think there's much else to say about all this stuff. So that's my opinions. Sorry about calling Paul stupid. I don't like Paul that much. He's not. I don't really care. It's just his teaching stuff. I don't care about any of these people personally. Different goals, different methods. The old masters of glaze were largely uninterested in direct, including guys like Velasquez, Vermeer, etc. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's too, like, there's this book too from the Parkhurst thing. Let me pull this up. This is something else. Right? Yeah, that's another book I'm reading. I haven't talked about that one yet. Where's my Parkhurst book? So there's this book from a student of Bouguereau named Daniel Parkhurst. So he studied with Bouguereau. He studied with Moreau too. Moreau's like an incredible painter. So the guy has some good training, and he talks on and on and on about, you know, everything you could need about painting. And he talks about all the different types of painting. And one thing that he makes very clear early on is that, like, it is the way of training, and it's a very successful way of training to, like, paint as you see and to learn this type of stuff and to learn, you know, don't have any theory about color, and you let these things come about. That it's very successful. But again, like, that's a student's goal, and a student's goal is different from an artist's goal. And if you want to achieve something different, then that's totally fine. So the only thing I'm dogmatic about is, like, this is how I think education should be structured. It's not how I think art should be structured. And glazing certainly has its uses, and it's a totally useful tool. But I think that, you know, if you let people dilly-dally too much, you know, you don't want to become a dilly-dallyer. You can caught with your hands in your pants. You don't want to do that. Well, I'm trying to remember which one this was. The artist and the student. It should be noted that the aims of the student and the aims of the artist are essentially different. The student's first aim is to learn to see and represent nature's facts, to distinguish justly between relations. It's the training of the eye and the judgment. Imitation is not the highest art, but the highest art requires the ability to imitate as a mere power of representation. The mind must not be hampered in its expression by lack of knowledge and control of materials, and a painter who is constantly occupied with the problems he should have worked out in his student days is just so far from being a master. He must have all this, his means perfectly at his command before he can express himself freely. I think that's very, very true. Let me read some chat here. I defined what plate drawing was earlier. I gave an introduction. Yeah, it's a little bit disorganized, but I talked about what all that stuff means earlier. Maybe we can nub later. Okay. Let me just catch up on these chat messages here. When I'm in college, the big structures first and smaller details later. Yeah, that's great. That is a good way to do it. I see an animation all the time. I know the feel. Probably reacting to my kids these days rant. Seems like such a 20th century music pedagogy, branches out into several million different streams. Very good for variety and creativity, but bad for artists who want to talk to each other with the same vocabulary. I hate grids, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it's a 19th century better situation, but we would have gotten late 19th century music if it was about. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go back to painting, y'all. You got my fun rant. That's really mostly what I wanted to do here, but I have to finish this so that I need to prove the haters wrong. Caterpillar said something about turn off the contiguous section. Oh. So now when I magic wand one of these weird things, it selects disconnected shapes. So it will select things that are like over here too. Okay, yeah, we can figure that out. I feel like the problem with this is I'm gonna do this crazy abstract thing, and then I'm just gonna paint directly. I'm just gonna paint directly and accurately over it. So I need some sort of way to prevent myself from doing that. Kids these days only know how to dilly-dally. That is so true. They're a bunch of dilly-dalliers. They don't want to become hardworking streamers. They want to just sit at home and play Fortnite. The only problem with claiming you're being they don't. Yeah, I agree. The only problem with claiming that I'm dogmatic is they don't contextualize my audience. Yeah, I think 100%. I'm speaking to a very specific type of people who are interested in a specific type of thing. You probably wouldn't come here if you weren't interested in some level of, like, 19th century realism, right? So I'm talking very specifically about this. Yeah, I also just did that whole thing, and I'm coming back to doing indirect painting in Photoshop. Now I will do that whole thing. I will now work in the most procedural, technique-y, indirect way that I probably ever paint in my entire life. So this is a really nice, yeah. Because I'm being an artist right now, not a student, okay? Sit and spin. Now let us get us back to this modern art. 100%. Really, I have no idea what I'm doing, so... Don't take this too seriously, you know? Alright, so if I'm working in this way, then I need to, like, set up some of the largest groups first. Yeah, it is a vibe sketch. We love vibe sketching. I am an academic. I'm an academician. That's a word. There's a word that's like that. I'm an academician. Fuck, that's not it. That can't be right though. Academician. That sounds so bad. Well, we're gonna figure this one out. Academician.
Academician.
Holy shit, I was right.
Academician.
This is like the opposite of XQC. Because I get it right on the first try. I'm an academician, guys. Let me figure, I gotta grab one of these. What I hate about Photoshop is, every time I switch tabs here, I'll make my color, I only want my color this big. I don't like this huge color space. So I put it back, and then I swap tabs here, and then I grab color, wait. Yeah, I pull out the layer here, and now it resets, and I gotta drag it back up. I don't know, man. Okay. So if I'm gonna paint like this, I need to think about like very abstractly, like the largest like value chains and the gradations between them. Like essentially, if I were to paint this, okay. Like if I have like light blue, oh, I need to be in another layer. This bush is this. Right, like that's all this bush is. So I need to paint that, but just like a little bit extra wacky style. And for everything. And also not for a single bush, but for the whole painting. Right? So, where do I need those large gradients? Squinting my eyes and looking at this, actually I probably don't need another value in the middle here. And to be honest, like, it probably just needs some like desaturation. These values aren't that bad, actually. Wait, I might be cooking, guys. Or maybe I'm just deluding myself. There's like these nice purple undertones in here. We're getting that. We got the blues. Wait, I'm actually cooking. I'm coping right now. I'm cope maxing really hard, but just bear with me. If you squint hard enough, you'll know how hard I'm cooking. If you right-click using the brush, it'll let you change the brush size from anywhere in the canvas. You don't have to keep switching tabs. Oh, I'm not doing that to... Like, if I click on layers here, or brushes, then it resets the color size, too. It's not just, like... If I want to, like, pull my layers up. It's just a photograph on the left. I don't think it's even edited. Those colors exist. Peace out, doggo. Okay. Go subscribe to Caterpillars in the chat for showing me this technique. Or email her hateful comments for corrupting me away from my direct painting ways. Your choice. Do I need to select everything? I'm gonna select everything. Wait, I'll use my my shape tool. Wait, this is nice texture. Okay, so I use the magic. So we're just setting this value a little bit higher. This is probably very accurate too to the color and value of these areas. I think I'm actually pretty accurate on the placement of stuff if I look horizontally. I'm site sizing technically. I'm doing everything that I told you guys not to do. Let me get a more hard brush here. And we want this color here in the foreground as well. It's not the right color. We have the softness here. Why am I holding down shift? It is the right color, it just doesn't look like the right color because it's not surrounded by the right values. We're close enough there. And we need some like purple, darker undertones in front of this, I think. We could maybe use a layer mode here. Multiply makes everything like really dark. Oh, that's nice. Okay. And just turn up the value a lot. Maybe make it a little bit more blue, maybe slightly less saturated. Find the general light patterns. Technique is vibes. 100%. What exactly is the technique? Yeah, it's vibes. It's vibes. 100% vibe based here. I just looked at this in the preview, and now I understand why you guys are asking me what the technique is. The technique is just trust the process. Just faith. You guys know about faith? You sacharins? I don't know what the word saccharin means. I'm pretty sure it's a religious thing, though. I need darker values in there, and then I need this. Let me use a hard round brush here. Oh, I need to get off multiply. Isn't saccharin a sweetener? Wait. Oh, God damn it, we're XQC maxing every second of the day, man. It's a sugar substitute. How did I know? I knew academician. But I got saccharin. What word am I thinking of? Sodomite? I know what a sodomite is. I probably shouldn't Google it, right? Sacrilege? Sacrilegious, probably. I guess that's what I was thinking of. I know what sacrilegious is. I don't know why I thought that. I keep switching back to the wrong camera. Caterpillar says desat everything. Select the focal point to concentrate to saturation on. Interesting. Okay. First off, I'm a Diet Coke drinker. I'm a Coke Zero drinker. It's not saccharide. It's not saccharin though. It's a different thing. I probably do need much less saturation in these areas. I think she's right. But I'm Diet Coke pilled, and you guys are mad at me. So don't be mad at me. Essentially, that's the point I'm trying to get across here. Maybe let me just use like a soft brush to desaturate some stuff. I'm gonna blow out all of my nice pattern though. Well, I'll keep selecting then. You guys are why did I even call you artificial sweetener? I don't even know why I did that. I have a very strange brain. The pathways, they don't connect. Well, now I sound like JoJo CY actually, so I'm gonna stop that sentence. There was like this, I just remember there was a time I was working at a college as a janitor, and everyone thought I was like stupid because, you know, I didn't know what saccharin was. And one day I was cleaning up the classroom after a physics class, and there was this equation on the board, and I just knew. I knew the answer, and so I solved the equation because it was just easy to me. And turns out that was like really, it was a really hard one. It hadn't been solved before. So, just something to think about for y'all. I'm not sure I'm making any progress on that. I could probably make a Goodwill Hunting core. It's a little bit like that, but it's slightly different. I really don't. There's no need to make the comparison though, because I'm kind of my own person. It is true though. There's gotta be a word that's not saccharin. I was onto something, but it was just like a really deep cut, so you guys didn't know about it. I'm not sure my selection technique is working here, but wait, I gotta just trust. I forgot the most important part. Wait, let me use a multiply to darken things, actually. I gotta remember that. I want my circly brush. Good painting, Jake. You might be the only one in the chat who believes that right now, but I support you. I love you. Thank you. We always have ride or die Jake supporters, and we very much so appreciate them. You will be spared in the rapture when I come for the Grizzires. Guys, think about it. Zoom out. Oh, I can get this shit off my screen too. Zoom out. We're too saturated. We're overblown on everything. The lights are too bright. Wait, let me use the soft brush here. Okay, we need to darken. Multiply. And desaturate too. Keep desaturating. I can plug into this. This might be the worst painting I've ever made. I don't believe that though. Wait, normal. I genuinely believe. Okay, that's already much better. There needs to be, we need like a midpoint value. We already have it here though. And this can stay a bit more saturated. The focal point of this painting is like this arc that moves up, around, and like out, I think. I think like this is the focal point of the painting, to be honest. Maybe like the yellow a little bit, but not that much. Just came back, what the hell is this? Just leave, brother, just leave. If you're a doubter, we need a betting system. I just don't really know how to make objective results off that. Switch to a multiply here, darken. I need a really grainy brush. Okay, and then I just need more of this midtone value here. We're actually cooking. We're actually cooking. I fully understand the person who told me that I need to block things out, thinking about form. I just did the whole lecture on that. I fully understand that this is probably, from every academic point of view, this is a bad way to paint. But this is a good way to paint if you're actually good at art, which I might not pass the threshold on. But we're going to believe. It's too dark. Trust everyone, trust Caterpillar. That way we have someone to ban if it doesn't work. See, I'm not sure when I should start carving shapes. So like this is foreground here, right? This is kind of foreground. And then this is like midground. And then this is like background. And I want to separate like this in front. So what I'm going to do here is add maybe a little bit of this over to here. Oh my god. Wait, that selection is... That's a goated selection. That is a good selection right there. We grab a random brush that I don't even know what it does. Huge. That was huge for us, guys. That was so huge. Turn on opacity here. We have to believe in the magic wand tool selection power. I think this should, in theory, if I understand my theory right, this should draw the painting for us. There should be no need to do any actual work here. It will just kind of do it for us. If you think about it hard enough. Okay. I gotta start carving soon, I think. But there's probably some major blocks that I can still block out here. Still want to keep this kind of arc of foreground here. We're kind of getting there. This is similar in value to this. This is similar in value to this. Probably be a little bit more like green, brown hue in there. You can pull this over a little bit more. This is positioned moderately properly. This whole area could go down a bit. This can go there. It's dark here. I need like that bluish hue to like unify. Oops. Through here. I'm squinting so hard. All right, I can turn up my tolerance a little bit. I'm trying hard to trust the process. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. I'm so confused. People have you guys just never seen art before? I guess this probably would be my audience. I do throw you guys for a loop like every 3 seconds. You guys probably do expect me to be probably one of the more like structured people because that's all I talk about. You guys got to learn how to believe sometimes. That's actually like it's a little bit of a problem that I'm not 100% sure how to solve. I think it's just natural. Not every problem has to be solved, I think. But like I will give lectures or lessons to people, and like people will have like decent paintings. They'll have done digital painting before. They know what they're doing. But then I'll give them like a proper lesson on drawing for the first time and talk about comparative measurement and like, you know, envelopes and shapes and stuff. And then they'll sit down to draw again, and they will be like so stiff, and they don't do anything that they know, and they overcomplicate the shit out of everything. And it's really hard to like reconcile these two ideas together, where it's like the academic stuff is supposed to like give you the ability to do more interesting stuff. And like you should do academic studies where you just focus on the academic stuff, but like it doesn't have to like take away. It's not just subtractive. Okay, wait. I want to put contiguous on here and then up the threshold. I need like a dark plane in this area. Probably like a little bit too saturated in these areas still too. Probably need to pull this in a little bit. Oh, I'm still multiply. Whoops. It's like all the stuff I do should be for something greater than just academic work, you know? And that's that's my greatest weakness. And that's also like, you look at Jerome's work too, and like he never really nailed the color stuff. He was still pretty stiff in a lot of the stuff he did. Trained some of the best people ever. I mean, and an incredible painter. But like, people always struggle with stuff, and they oftentimes train people to do stuff that they can't. Because that's what they, want to do. And somebody said to me too, I was talking to a really good painter, Kailun Shu, on Instagram. He does a lot of like entertainment style. Like he goes to like Comic-Con, he'll paint like different characters and figures. Really good oil painter. He can do traditional stuff too, really fast too. And he said to me that like a lot of times illustrators, or rather I said to him that like the illustrators and the people who do that type more imaginative stuff are like the people who are actually really good, like a lot more than a lot of the academics. And he said that he agrees, but he'll join groups with really good illustrators that have academics in there too, and the really good illustrators will be like, well, I don't feel like I should be in this group because there's all these really amazing academics in here, and like I'm not as good as them. So it's a grass is always greener type of deal. And really art is just too broad to be good at everything, or at least a master of everything in a lifetime. Even Michelangelo was like crazy stylized. I gotta turn the contiguous thing back on or off. Let's see, what other like big groups can I hit here? You probably just need to tone down the saturation in some of these areas. I wish there was like a brush that I could use to desaturate things. Does that exist? Sponge desat. What the fuck is that? I'm gonna Google it. I have sponge? Use the brush options? What is the sponge tool? Has anyone ever heard of that? Art history brush tool. Not nice to call me a tool. We're looking, guys. We're looking. Maybe down here. Wait, maybe it's in here. Blur, sharpen, smudge. Sponge! What is this? Desaturate. No way. I can't make it bigger. Must be a bug. Oh, wait, that works. I need that to work a lot less, though. This is the I literally use Photoshop. I use Photoshop like a caveman. I actually use Photoshop like somebody who has no idea what modern technology is. That's much better. If I keep... Okay, it does lose all of it. Wait, we're dialing in, guys. We're dialing in. Maybe a little bit too desaturated. Nicholas Uribe is someone who I think can merge illustration, traditional painting really well. He also wanted to be a comic book artist. You can see in his work. Yeah, I think Uribe's I really like what he does. I haven't seen too many of his traditional stuff. You know, he had some traditional education. And I've seen like one traditional painting. But anyways, you know, the guy knows how to paint, and he's actually a fantastic realist painter now. He doesn't paint realist stuff all that often, or he normally like kind of stretches it or makes it his own. But the guy's like really good at painting. Yeah, I really think, I really like him and the way he talks about this stuff. Let me get a green in here. And I'll get the green under the leaves. It would be like a little bit darker, right? What other like big planes do I need here? And then I'll start like kind of painting more directly. Like we could be in here. Maybe a little bit too much tolerance. They made the woke Photoshop brushes tolerant. Not in my town. Oh, I can flip the canvas. Wait! Guys! We're getting there. Sorry, this is a really quiet part of the song. I should do a, Can I change the... I can put a gain in... I can put a gain on pre-compressor. There we go. My body looks like the painting. I have like the nicest love handles. That's nice. We're really proud of you. Crispy Space Agency. What's the best medium for illustration? Learning to draw. What's up, Moro? It is not how I usually paint. It's probably closer to... Wait, we're actually cooking so hard when we're in flip view. I'm actually a genius in flip view. Here we're like, I don't know. But here we're like doing something. This looks like... I'm having abstract feelings about this that I don't know how to describe. This looks like, you know, you're like walking into like a pathway, and then this is like the Holy Grail if you're Indiana Jones, and then this is the other part of the pathway. And maybe this is the giant boulder that's gonna crush you when you grab the Holy Grail. You guys see what I'm cooking here? It looks like underwater. Okay, I like that one. It does look like underwater. This looks like the rays that come down when you're underwater, the little rays of sunlight that pour it down. Sharpen, filter, everything for vibes. Okay. Wait, I remember Katter saying first you do a little Gaussian. You get a little Gaussian with it. Just a little bit. You blur everything, then you sharpen the shit out of it for some reason. Sharpen. Sharpen. Where's the window? Oh, I opened Blender on accident. Okay. Wait, alright. Filter? I know you guys can't see it, I'm sorry. Photoshop sucks. Sharpen? Why does it do nothing? Is it doing something? Filter? Sharpen? Sharpen edges. Why is there no pop-up? Smart sharpen. Where's smart sharpen? Oh, smart sharpen. Here it is. Here we go. I can't zoom in while sharpening. Watch this, guys. I'm gonna grab the magnifying tool. I can't. I tried. Is this doing anything? Oh, it is. This is it blurry. And then here it is mad sharpened. And here it is crazy sharpened. I actually don't know if anything's happening. Put up the rate. Oh shit, something's happening. How are we feeling, guys? We're deep frying our painting? And then Bugaro said, if you want to have a great painting, you have to deep fry the shit out of it like a 2012 meme that says E on it in a big letter. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I think I over sharpened. I'm feeling uncomfortable with this. It's just dancing now. I'm hitting Control Z, but it's just dancing. Can I ever get my sharpen back? Did I sharpen it? Smart sharpen. I'm turning it down. Okay. We lost it again. I have no idea what... This is my first time, guys. I don't know what the sharpening is. I don't know what the heck. You guys are like doing some... I'm like a casual tobacco or like weed smoker, and you guys are like fentanyl addicts. And you're like, try this shit out, man. It's called sharpen. It's good, dude. Jesus, man. You guys are fiends. Just let a dude live. Maybe lighten color? What does that do? Alt H to hide the selection. Nope. Control H. Oh my god, I'm goated. Is that doing anything? Does anyone know? It is. I'm not sure it's lightning, though. Let's use lighten. Maybe overlay. Maybe soft light. Something happened, probably. What I do know is I need to bring some softness back into this. Yeah, I'm gonna start direct painting soon, and it will be hype, and it'll be sick. Let's use multiply here. Squash my color window for the 100th time. Use a brush called plastic wrap. That's exactly what I like to do in nature. Throw my plastic wraps in the bushes. It's called nature's trash can. For a reason. Maybe overlay. Painting's meant to be enjoyed from afar. Here's my soft brush here. Everything's confusing the poor guy. I don't know shit. Probably don't need to do that. Okay, we're close. We're close. We're very close. Put some of this in front of this. Okay, now we direct paint. Now simply we just direct paint. You should draw Crispy Space Agency. Apparently they have great love handles. If you look like a Greek sculpture, mold yourself in plaster and then mail it to me. And I will draw you. Jake, you look like you're from Star Wars right now. What does that mean? It's the shirt. This is a black collared shirt. It's a black collared shirt. It's got buttons on it. They don't have buttons in Star Wars. They got like space buttons. It's different. Probably. I haven't really seen a whole lot of movies. Vader would force choke you. It's the fucking horn. This is like the chat on Valentine's Day. This has got the horniest chat in the world today. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Save it for the fanfic. How do I start carving into this? I'm going to start carving into this the way that I know, okay? I don't know what I know, to be honest, actually. I'm not 100% sure on what I know still. I shed too many preconceived notions and now I'm stuck in liminal space. This green is probably semi-accurate. Immediately color shifts it to purple. Purple is actually the accurate value in here. Be a little bit darker. And then this green is slightly more saturated and darker. I need to go like in between these flowers, but not too much. Leave it there for now, I guess. To be honest, I don't know. The only thing I know is that I know nothing. Please make a copy of the layer just in case. I'm ruining this shit and I'm burning it straight to the ground, brother. We do not make copies in this household. We ruin our drawings and we move on with our life. Okay? We just ruin a great drawing and we go, you know what? Do it again tomorrow. I'll ruin another tomorrow. It's the only way to live. Probably need to use a couple more brushes here. I'm reading chat. So I'm squinting. You watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Isn't that the... It's about like two lesbian women who are like painters in like the 16th century or 17th century or something. All I know is that I have not seen this movie and I had never heard of it, but there's this lady on TikTok who does these like, she's like a professor at like RIT or something, and she does these drawing critiques of like random student drawings online or like art student portfolios, and she is just the most like typical modernist college professor ever. And she made on her YouTube channel a review of that where she like looked at that movie and looked at the painting that is painted in that movie and like critiqued it. But it's funny because she doesn't like actually know anything about form or like color or like actual, you know, normal academic drawing stuff. So she just like only critiques everything on these like crazy college. I don't even know like how to describe that stuff because I don't speak that language. That's how I know that movie. I only know about things because I got rage baited by them once. That's essentially it. That's pretty much it, to be honest. So yeah, I do know about like a couple scenes from that movie that I 2x speed on YouTube while trying to find something to get mad at. You see what the internet does to a beautiful young mind? There's like this nice like sweeping back feeling that I want to create. I'm not 100% sure how to create it, but I don't know. We'll find our way. Not sure if I need to like draw more precisely at this stage. But also, like, what is precision when you're like in the middle of like a ton of abstraction? I don't think you can hit it with like perfect precision, because it won't even feel right at this stage. But maybe I'm also coping. This value is much too light. But I can use a darken and turn down my opacity. Oh my god, I'm learning. The worst part about doing a painting like this is that I have to stick around until it's not complete trash. I can't just bail on you guys. And I would love to bail. Portrait video is the most helpful. Oh, thank you. Got that innocent face, but a dirty little mind. It's got that innocent face, but a dirty little mind. You guys ever see those TikToks that are like, it's always cops for some reason, and they're just like the horniest people in the world. I think that's what the innocent face, dirty little mind thing was. Somebody knows I'm right out there. Not bailing if you call it abstract. I need to get, yeah, so here's the problem, guys. I set my phone to only be black and white, so I'm not as addicted to it anymore. See, it's just, that's a latent painting in black and white. And use hard round, no pen pressure. Okay. And I have scrolled like, we're down to like maybe 20 reels this whole week. That's crazy, all right? My reel consumption is very low. But I might be losing, like what, there's also something more that I could be losing. You know, I could be losing touch. Like, would you rather be alone and not know about the Costco guys? Wait, would you rather be happy and not know about the Costco guys? Or would you rather be steeped in the madness and molded by it? It's an interesting dilemma. Some people have said. Those people are me right now. All right. I was told hard round, no pressure opacity. Aye. Real consumption is holding us back. I didn't do that much reading this week, but I read a lot this morning. I normally do that though. It's not really all that crazy. It wasn't the reels holding me back. My average screen time is like only 3 hours a day before this, which maybe that's like a lot to some of you, but then also I know that some of you are going to open up your phone and see like 12 hours. So that's like, I'm kind of like the LeBron of not looking at my phone of this generation, but it is probably really bad because the other 10 to 12 hours of the day, I'm right here on my computer or like right here drawing. So like I'm still like mostly looking at a screen. I'm not sure, you know. We're hitting the NPC. This is the NPC music. Okay, we're making it small. Can't be that small. Where do I need hard edges? I'm gonna desaturate this a little bit. Make it a little bit darker. Probably a little bit too big. I'm used to using the biggest brush that I possibly can. There's this little patch here, right? And then this kind of into here. And then this comes into here. We're close yet so far. Probably shouldn't put these in yet, but I'm just gonna do it. Because I want a sweet little treat while I'm drawing. Important to give yourself your sweet drawing treats. Because I was thinking the other day too, it's like, I can't keep saying Skibbity. Probably Skibbity is out, I think, at this point. Like, if you say Skibbity, it's just not a good look anymore. It's not something that's gonna scream, you know, knowledgeable about what the kids are doing, right? I don't think anyone should be screaming about how knowledgeable they are about what the kids are doing, but you understand my point. I guess Skibbity after Skibbity was like the Costco guys, but honestly, that's pretty long gone too. You know, Haktua, it's already long gone. I guess Chicken Jockey, but like, you know, I'm on one hand, actually, I think I just said all those brain rot words, and I think I just cooked every cell in my brain in a row. I think, how do I phrase this? I don't like those. I don't like my sweet treats. I'm losing touch by not being on Reels for 1 week. Because you can say a meme for like a couple months. I think we got like a year out of the Skibbities, but that's because it was commercialized beyond likes that we've ever seen before. For the most part, this shit's on like a day-to-day basis, or maybe a week-to-week basis. So I've been off off Reels for 1 week. I probably got about 2 days left in me before I'm gone. I'm gonna be just left in the dust. That looks like shit. I'm gonna use a selection tool. Is this how you use a selection tool? How do you turn the phone black and white? It's in the like accessibility settings. You gotta send in like something to Samsung and be like, tell them that you're disabled, and then they'll do it from the HQ. It's like an HQ only thing. Oh, where do I need to bring some strength into this? I probably need like a little bit of hard edges in here. By the way, though, it genuinely, I think, has already improved my life a little bit. And I also deleted YouTube off my phone. That is the bigger thing there. Stay zoomed out here, I think. Which was just a coincidence. My definitely not cracked YouTube stopped working the same day that I turned my phone black and white, and I was like, I'm just gonna, instead of updating this, I'm just gonna delete it. Because it's it's a hamper on your life when you get up to like go put away 3 dishes and you're like, I need a good YouTube video for this. That's where things start to get a little bit bad. If you spend more time looking for the YouTube video than you spend doing the chore, then you've already fucked up. And I was well beyond that, to be honest. Phones are banned in my high school. That's probably a good thing, to be honest. It's probably a really good thing. I think people are getting like kind of tired of that type of stuff too. I need to turn on my opacity. I think even like young people are, I don't know, realizing this shit kind of sucks a lot of the time. And also I tell myself all the time, like, well, like I'm a YouTuber, I have to like do stuff on my phone. But it's like, there's really not that much I need to do on my phone. Are we worse off? Are we getting somewhere? I need to go back to the hard round brush. I strayed away from the light. I don't think that the younger kids are not going to make as good memes. I think they're going to be plenty equipped. We can't let you know, it's okay to talk about generational differences, but you're going to get very quickly pulled into the boomer mindset if you let yourself divulge into that. They're probably gonna be fine. Everyone's always been fine, but they are uniquely cooked. I can agree with that. Why do I feel like I never have enough contrast and I have too much contrast in here at the same time? I think Caterpillar's getting closer to a ban now. But maybe we're making progress and I just don't realize it, so I won't ban her quite yet. It's also like not properly proportioned. Oh, that's pressure size. Do I have a stream schedule? No. But I have been just enjoying streaming lately. And if you guys like our history stuff, then I will probably keep doing it. Because that's mostly what I have to talk about. It's normally, I don't know, it's been like once a week on weekends lately. But I might just, this might be, any stream might be my last stream for 2 months. I'm not going to lie. I was curious too, there's some stuff I want to do. There's some note. Basically, there's a program called Obsidian, and I want to take the art history notes, and because I lose so much shit. I need to take the art history notes and organize them and put them into Obsidian sometime. And it might be incredibly boring, but people maybe would watch that on stream. Maybe half of the normal people, which I don't really care about numbers. Because it is a travesty how much I lose. It's really, really bad how much I lose. and how much time I will go like searching for quotes that I've lost or that I know exist but I don't know where they are. So things need to be, and the nice thing about like Obsidian too is I could just publish that stuff publicly. Obsidian's like what all like the like law students use and medical students, I think. It's giving Ghibli style. Have I gotten beat by 4-0? Am I getting 4-0'd right now? I don't know how this could possibly give Ghibli style. There's like almost no defined shapes in here. Let's go back to the hard round brush. I'm just focusing on... the question was, do you try to make series of works? Are you focusing on training your skills? I'm just focused on training my skills and learning, doing new things, approaching stuff differently. I'm trying to... like, I do try to be more, like, creative and do stuff like this that is scary. I really do. Because it is my weak spot, doing, like, anything creative or original, to be honest. But I also just have a lot of like actual normal studying to do, and I can get a lot better academically, and I want to keep getting better academically. I'm nowhere near out of the oven yet. I'm like still medium rare. So I need a lot more time in the oven. That's for sure. How do I make this? I'm just going through some like sort of cruel cycle right now. I try to make it more structured. It looks like shit. I don't know if I'm making any progress. So then I sit back and I work like more generally on it. I like fix some stuff. I'm like, okay, this is getting better. I zoom in. It looks like shit. I need to make it more structured. And then I ask, how do I make it more structured? And the cycle repeats. Why is Freerun giving us that sploosh face? What is a sploosh face, brother? It's supposed to be like that same... Well, first off, it's modeled off of Bugaro's painting. This was really good. This is really good practice. One sec, I'm pulling up the painting. Disdain? Where are you? It's modeled after this painting. That's what I based it off of, and I chose some of the colors from here. But also she has like those dead eyes always, so I wanted to convey that. All right, the other half of this clump here is like golden brown, greeny. But it can't be too saturated in this area. Fuck you, colored panel. Yeah, coming back to things after not looking at them for a while, or just even a few minutes, is probably one of the best advices you can give with art. I don't really have the luxury of doing that on stream too much, but I kind of just want to keep plugging away. I think I can get there too, if I power through. I just have to like find a way to kind of refine inwards without losing too much. I think that means it's time to stop? Never. There's always this phase in every painting where you just kind of have to push through. Painting's a labor of love, you know? Sometimes you wake up, you're like, I hate my wife. That's love, man. That's what the Facebook memes told me. I think mostly finding some areas to focus the clarity on and like define out more properly will give us the highest resolution. I want there to be highest resolution through this arc here. So that's what needs to happen here. I can't render everything, and at least not in one sitting. I mean, you technically could, but it's not the goal here to render everything. I can leave a lot of areas in abstraction. Oh, I'm in multiply, that's why things are getting darker. And as long as I have the hard edges and clarity where I need it, I think it should be fine. A little bit too many. Okay, so let's just start picking apart through here. Thank you for the emotional support. Fire emoji. It's like semi-cooked. If you stay really squinted, it's like very rare chicken. You probably wouldn't eat it, but the chances of you getting sick are quite low, if you think about it. Oops. Desaturate here. Rare chicken jokey. In Japan, they will do like chicken sushi sometimes, yeah, sashimi, raw chicken sashimi. Apparently, I worked at a Japanese restaurant. That's what one of the sushi chefs told me. But they have like farm I guess, like, safer, better kept chicken so that they can get away with that type of stuff sometimes. It still just sounds... I don't know, man. It's my cognitive bias. I was raised to reject the idea of eating raw chicken. Need it. I keep going to grab these texture brushes. I don't know if they do me any good, or if I'm just wasting time. Yeah, X in Japan. Raw chicken in America? Blah. Raw chicken in Japan? Oh my god. Gotcha, raw chicken. I do not. I was going to use negative self-talk there, but I overcame it through hard will. Sheer will. Oh, there we go. My mind is so melted from this study. I might have to come back to this another time. I think I need to, like, sit and think. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Texture brushes are essentially just basically a soft brush or a medium edge brush because the texture creates a non-firm edge. So at this stage I need primarily hard brushes. But there's still gradients within the things that I want to paint. I have like a lot of comfort in like color picking too, or like, not color picking, mixing colors like very directly. I feel like I'm close on some of these ideas. Need to experiment around with this a little bit more. I need a brush that's texture that's not super texture. It's too much. Oh, I made a line across the screen at some point. We love that. There's like such nice... Sometimes you just see things that... I haven't drawn enough boxes. Someone made a really good point. I need to go draw more boxes. If I could rotate a cube better, I could be better. Like sample brush 1737. All right, someone recommended me I use sample brush 1737. Thank you, Caterpillar. Insane. That's really funny. It's perfect. It's perfect. I was just looking all my life for 1737. It couldn't be 1738 by Fetty Wap. You could use more multiply too. I think I would be not as burdened by color mixing if I use the multiply more in this type of stuff. I could darken stuff without having to worry too much. These shapes are bad. "1738 was the year Jake was born." That's very true. Oh, it has a canvas texture. That's actually... Wait. I can make edges. Think, what about this? Sharpen tool. That's not what I expected. The sharpen tool is not sharpening. I'm on the brush tool. It's in one of these here. Let me boomer post real quick. Sharpen. Oh, okay, there we go. You can edge? Are you edging or are you gooning? I'm edging, sir. Are you edging or are you gooning? I'm edging, sir. Are you edging or are you gooning? I'm edging. For those of you who don't know, and I won't be able to do this much longer, but that's a reference to a meme edit of the Drum movie. What's the Drum movie called, guys? Holy fuck. Whiplash, thank you. Whiplash. Thank you. Edging, or were you gooning? I don't know. I was actually saying it wrong. Were you edging or were you gooning? I don't know. Were you edging or were you gooning? Count down from 10, Livy Dunn style. See, I can't keep doing that's the thing, guys. I can't keep doing this, all right? I had a good run. I'm not going to be able to keep up, all right? If I keep talking about Livy Dunn, it's over for me. We got to move on. That might be my last goon. We got to find greater hills to climb. Greater climaxes to be had. You know what I'm saying? There's more to life. And by that, I mean funnier things to say as a vocal stem over and over again. And they just haven't been found yet. And if we preoccupy ourselves with just edging or gooning, we might not find that there's something greater all along. That's what I've been saying. Jake, I have to tell you something. Yeah, it's a good time. I'm not fucking doing anything. Oh, I forgot about the music. Sorry. We got a little bit too intimate here. You guys probably are like... The music could just be the slow, labored breaths of my pug-like nose. I did turn the music back on. It's just at a really quiet part of this. There we go. I think that the heavy paint software app makes digital art more fun and makes something. I totally agree with you, brother. Look at this. Wait. Look at this. Nope. Look at this. That's a nubtastic. That's a crazy ass nubby comp right there. I love heavy paint. We're heavy paint until the day we die. I just need to. I might bring this. I don't know. I'm not sure if I should finish this in heavy paint or if I should bring it into Photoshop, because there is some like level of precision I need for some of this. This image probably makes 0 sense if someone doesn't know what nubby is. I would love to see somebody who doesn't know what nubby is try to interpret what is happening in this image, because it's probably more abstract than even the game itself. Hey Jake, how do you know so much about 19th century painters? Says Austin Forsyth, the man who has the same last name as a great painter and went to the Munich Academy in the 19th century. Forsyth. William Forsyth. Oh, wait, yours has an E. This guy was really, really, really good. I need more paintings. It's not that... fuck, where can I find more paintings of this guy? Just an auction website? Oh, man. This is some guy's, like, trade school. How do I know so much about the 19th century? I learned a lot from Ramon Hurtado. We're releasing a course together and writing some blogs together on our new website. And then I just read the books. You know, I read a bunch of books. It's kind of hard to find the books, though. You know, Ramon told me about a lot of them. And then a lot you just find by, like, searching on, like, Google Books. Like, once you know, like, a term, like, once you know some of the terms in the books, then you can be like... I don't remember how to spell this. It's spelled like this. Like, once you find a term like this in a book, then you can search it up. Like, premier coup means first stab, or like first stroke, I think, right? And it's the way that they described, like, painting in the 19th century, because they would try to paint, like, directly and get the color right, like, on the first brushstroke. And once you find terms like that, you can search them and you can set the time to be, like, within the time period. And like, a lot of the shit that you find is just from, like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff on Google Books that you can find that's, like, actually really interesting. Once you find, like, a lead, you can follow it and find some really cool stuff. Like 1911 artist landscape paintings, page 262. What's going on here? Then again, the cry that you should complete whatever you are working on in one sitting, or paint it, as the French say, premier coup, requires a little explanation, because apart from everything else, it is scarcely possible, except in very exceptional cases, to get in one sitting that weight, thickness, and quality of color that is essential to a good painting. Wilkie says, the longer I paint, the more I am convinced that a head should be painted right off at a sitting. Certainly, if you ought to paint everything at once at a sitting, yes, by one stroke of the brush, if you can, but who can? Unless a simple rub-in or sketch is all it desired, it would be wiser for the beginner to aim at leaving his first sitting's work in a good state for finishing. Oh, they're even talking about Reynolds here. Talking about Joshua Reynolds? This actually might be interesting. Art, artist, and landscape painting. Maybe I'll read through some of this. You just find a bunch of, like, random stuff. Autism helps too, probably. I think the blue circle is really a bit astonished that the sword is in the green ball, but ultimately okay with it. At least this is someone who doesn't know about Nubby. What's happening here is we got 3 E blocks. One is upgraded. I think both of them are upgraded. But this one's currently triggering, so it's a slightly darker hue. I have a reference photo I can show you guys. This is the reference photo I was using. So here we obviously have Drainer perk, Chaos perk, Kebab perk, House of Cards. We're getting a lot of cheese. That's not cheese, that's waffle perk. We're getting a huge triggering here. Drainer perk is draining. They're all force triggering the Kazoo, which is getting triple force triggered by 2 upgraded E's and 1 non-upgraded E. And then over here we have Ouroboros, I think, or Ouroboros. And then we have Yeti and Jax too. Jax is getting us the big points. So that hopefully that explains it to you. Basically, played up the E blocks on the Kazoo, getting our doubling, then our Jacks are taking that out, Nubby's doing some bouncing. And we're leveling up our score over here. What's getting stabbed is the... Oh, that was my first painting. It's getting this is the guy getting big number stabbed right here. Somehow by explaining it, you made it more confusing. Welcome to Nubby. Welcome to the Nubby lifestyle. You know, I just read in a great book that beginners shouldn't aim to finish paintings in one sitting. I gotta take a break on this one. I'm actually losing my mind. It's already 6. I've been going for 3 fucking hours. Holy shit. Dude, Bob Ross dude can paint entire landscapes in 30 minutes. The reason why Bob Ross can paint so quickly, and he is enormously skilled. I mean, like I've followed along with the Bob Ross tutorial. He's very fast and very good with the tools and can do what he's doing. But like, he doesn't paint life. He doesn't paint landscapes. He doesn't paint what things actually look like. You know, he's basically painting a bunch of symbols that he's very like cleverly crafted in a way that makes them cohesive and interesting to look at. But it's not like... It's not what an impressionist is doing. It's not what landscape painters are doing. He doesn't paint really like form. He's just really good at symbol painting and like tying them together into an image, which allows him to move incredibly quickly. But he's not doing the same type of painting that like we're trying to do. But I did a video with a guy named Skinix, where I followed we all followed the same Bob Ross tutorial at the same time. And I did it in oil paint, and Skinix did it digitally, and then another guy tried to do it in Blender. And that's a really fun video. You guys can watch it. Okay. I'm calling this broadcast a done. I'm calling this broadcast a done, all right? I'll keep working on this painting. You just check in on me in my Discord. The link's in the description, all right? And I'll stream again sometime. Big things coming. Ebooks, PDFs, and stuff. It's true, Morgan Freeman says. Love you. Kisses.